Real quick, before we get into the goodness, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you're notified to every time we upload a video. Appreciate you. And let's talk about how the white man is oh so evil. Oh so evil. Yet the freedom that we have is because white people agreed with us that we should be treated fairly. A lot more white people agreed with us that we should be treated fairly than didn't. That is proof by the Civil Rights Act that was passed. If the majority still felt that way, we wouldn't have got our freedom. I came across an interview where I heard a very prominent figure from back in the 60s, 70s talk about how evil white people are. And it was shocking to hear that individual because I know that as he grew older and learned more, his views and attitudes changed. And this prominent figure who said this was Muhammad Ali.
Many white people who mean right and in heart want to do right, but there are so few. If 10,000 rattlesnakes was coming down that aisle now, and I had a door here I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let all these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that 1,000 get together and form a Sheol? Or should I just close the door and stay safe? So now I'm going to forget the 400 years of lynching and killing and raping and depriving my people of freedom, justice, and equality, first fired, last hired, the lowest of low, last respected, and I'm going to look at 2 or 3 white people who are trying to do right and don't see the other million trying to kill me? I'm not that big of a fool.
He said it, and I got it. I got it. I didn't lambaste him for it because he sounded much like Malcolm X in his early years being taught by Elijah Muhammad. But when Malcolm X went to Mecca and saw the truth and came back, he was a completely different man. I don't know when exactly Muhammad Ali's turning point was, but he was a changed man. One of his closest and dearest friends, a man who he called little brother, a white Jew, Billy Crystal. And that came from the same man who said years prior that you cannot trust a white person. You can't trust white people. That man said just because one snake didn't bite you, that don't mean the rest of you. You don't base your opinion on all snakes just because one didn't bite you. I'm paraphrasing the interview, but that's what he said, comparing white people to snakes. And it's amazing because the history of this nation shows that there has always been an overarching goodness within all people to do the right thing. And of course you had hoes. You'll have them in any society, in any nation, in any civilization. But to do right is, generally speaking, in all of us, a desire to do. What I don't get is how we do what we hate being done to black people. I remember coming up how hard black people had to work on their behavior to make sure we didn't paint all black people with a negative paintbrush. Because back then, 50s, 60s, 70s, if one black person acted up, that's how those racists and those bigots portrayed all black people. And we hated that. We fought against that. Of course, there were criminals, thieves, no good black people in our culture, in our community, in our society. As I said, they're in every society, amongst every race of people. And we worked hard not to let the actions of one portray us all in the same manner. Yet we do that religiously. We almost always let the action of one white person speak for all white people. I mentioned a moment ago, check the history. There were not many black landowners in the South during the Civil War to help black folks escape to the North. The Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad were farms and different plantations and different homes of white people that believed in the plight of freeing African slaves and would hide us on their property at great risk to their own lives. Amazing that we don't talk about them. We talk about Harriet Tubman. We talk about the Underground Railroad. We talk about us making our way to the North, but we never give credit to the white folks that helped. Interesting, isn't it? and yet we still call them evil. There were racist cops openly going back to God knows when. We've seen them on camera, with the most egregious being Rodney King in the 80s. We saw it. And we saw all those cops get acquitted of that crime. On video camera, beating a helpless man. So when I tell y'all, I know racism is out there. But does that mean every single white cop is a racist? How about you tell that to Lil Wayne?
Lil Wayne was just 12 years old when he attempted to take his own life. The burgeoning rap star was reportedly depressed after his mother banned him from rapping as a punishment for skipping school. As officers arrived at the scene, Wayne said multiple officers stepped over his bloody body to instead search for drugs and weapons.
They saw me, they as in the cops, they saw me just jump clean over me and went through the house talking about, I found the drugs, I found the gun, I found it. And so it was time doing all that. And so it took a guy named Uncle Bob. And he ran up there. When he got to the top of the steps and saw me there, he refused to even step over me. One of them yelled like, I got the drugs. And that's when he went crazy. He was like, I don't give a f about no drugs. He's like, do you not see the baby on the ground? And funny that I was spitting all in his face, blood, everything. All I was trying to tell him, I'm not a baby. Because he kept, do you not see the baby on the ground with this hole in his chest? He was screaming at him, and it was like, I guess I didn't know he was, so he must have been the sheriff of boss, because they all came out the other rooms like, oh, sorry, boss, we called the ambulance. Or he's like, I don't give a f, do you, like, so he called like one of them names, last name. Your car now. Picked me up, bought me, and just kept telling me some shit, like, you're not gonna die on me, you're not gonna die on me the whole time. The whole time, I am trying to tell him I'm not a baby. That's why I told him for 30 minutes straight. And so he got me to the hospital. He brought me there. He never even checked it. He just left me, made sure I was good. I met him years later, but he was like, I just wanted to say, I'm happy to see that I saved a life that mattered.
I say again, white cop, New Orleans, South, picked up a black kid with a gunshot wound. He could have let him die. F him, he's another right? One of our most prominent rappers in the gangster rap game. Even he won't denounce all white cops as evil. But he does, as everyone should, call out crooked ones, bad ones. And I hate to tell y'all this, but not all the abusive cops that treat black folks bad are white. When I was assaulted in handcuffs, laying on my back, and a cop sat on my chest, punched me twice in the face, it was a black one. There's a recent case where a man died in police custody by being beat by police. All the cops that beat him, black. And silly, I'm looking at you, Joy Reid, still blame that on racism, internalized racism. Essentially, Joy Reid said the reason those black cops beat that black dude to death was because they tried to impress the white people. Or how about they're just asshole cops that abuse their power? How about that? Quit trying to make an escape for us. Hold us accountable. All white people ain't evil. As a matter of fact, I am going to play for you a segment of Dr. Martin Luther King's March on Washington, I Have a Dream speech. It's rarely heard, but it's part of the same speech. This is a segment that preceded the I Had a Dream part, where he addresses white people and black people. Check it out.
But that is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is they have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone.
So you got that, right? Black people shouldn't treat them bad. Don't let a militant mindset overtake you. That part ain't played. And black folks who don't know their history, they'll never get it. But it's time, black folks. It's time to stop blaming white people for black people problems, when the majority of the problems that we have, we created ourselves. Time to stop the bullshit. Get off your ass. Hold yourself accountable. Yo, if you want to hear the rest, make sure you check out our podcast. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms. That is iHeart, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Plus, if you want to reach us, drop us a line. You can find us at freemindthinkers2022@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about us. Leave a comment below and share the video with as many people as you can. I greatly appreciate that. This is your man, Big Brother Tucker. See you on the other side. And always remember, never be afraid to think differently.